Hello there, and welcome back to Middle of the Road, a podcast for runners and would-be runners with busy schedules and big appetites. My name is Christy Luke Jones, your ever-present host, and sitting opposite me, your perennial co-host, You Are One. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Amazing. This is episode 10, or, well, aka week 9, if you're keeping track. We hope you are. This is a schedule we're doing here. If we're not always on time, then I'm very sorry. And
I like to think of it as a bus.
okay,
If you wait long enough, 2 comes at once.
exactly. And if you wait long enough, sometimes none come along. So what have we got? This is we're tentatively calling this one Race Week. So what does that involve, you?
So this is almost discussing about. So this is the final week, and you could say normally it's on a Sunday, but generally it's on the weekend. That'll be your day where you do your event, whether it's a half marathon, 10K, or full marathon. And essentially we're just talking about what happens during that week. What do you do? Because I think last week we talked a bit about the training itself.
So tapering in particular.
And it's kind of similar. We kind of alluded it to the last part of the episode, but it's pretty much that. And it's just making sure that not now that your tapering is nearly done, what other aspects should you take into consideration? It's a good week to actually think about it.
Yeah, so kind of the week leading up to your race event. What do you need to do so that you have a stress-free, fun race experience?
Yeah.
I would say, in summation. We thought we'd do something a little bit different today. Rather than talk about what we've been doing, we've obviously been running loads.
Yeah.
So we thought, why bother with telling you that again?
Yeah.
We're going to remember our first races when we lost our big race virginity. So, do you want to start, you are, or shall I start?
I mean, you can start if you want.
Okay. I didn't really run at school. I used to play rugby and a bit of basketball, but I wasn't a runner.
Yeah, non-running events.
So that I was carrying a little bit of weight. Running wasn't really my thing. Still carrying a bit of weight, but now I'm running. So my first race, I was 17, and I did a half marathon in my hometown in Oxfordshire. And I can remember kind of being 17 years old. I thought I was invincible. I'd lost all my puppy fat. I thought I'm gonna absolutely boss this race. I wasn't scared at all. I was purely excited. I didn't know what to expect. I'd heard my brother kind of talking about half marathons and stuff, but I was raring to go. I probably didn't stretch. I've seen photos of the day. I wasn't wearing the right stuff. I was wearing pretty lousy shoes. I was wearing like board shorts. No like technical shirt or whatever. It was a big heavy cotton t-shirt. And I think I got an hour and 45. And I honestly remember on the last kind of mile running down this big straight, and I was like clapping myself and like waving at cameras, not a care in the world. And it really is like, it feels like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just this blissful kind of unaware of kind of any struggle with running and just going for it and just being purely excited for the event. I think I need to remember that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And apply that to myself in the weeks building up to the London Marathon and have that same excitement. But yeah, I was basically naive in a very positive way. And it was a good race. It was a good race. And it's all been downhill since then.
Yeah.
How about you? Because you ran a bit more at school.
Yeah, so I did. So at school, I did a couple of races at school.
You were a 1500 man, weren't you?
Yeah, so I did the 1500, or sometimes people say like it's the mile race because it's slightly around the distance. But for those I did a mixture. So I did it around for our inter-school races.
Oh yeah.
But I also did the one when you compete against schools in the county.
Okay.
And with that one, and that I ran my personal best. I think I did a mile under 5 minutes. I did like 4:50, I think 57, 58
Nice.
for the mile.
You're better than that now, right? You're faster.
No. But yeah, for those, no, didn't really. But you were probably like because I think we played a lot of sports at the time. We pretty much played football every day outside of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're quite active just in general. And then during that time, I think that was the longest. The longest I ever run was we did essentially a park run. It was a 3 mile course.
Was it cross country?
Cross country for the school against other schools. The issue I had that day, I think it was, as well as being, when you're a kid, I had a fever.
Okay.
So I had the flu that week.
Oh, wow.
I thought, you know what, I'll just go, and I just knocked 2 paracetamols back. I went into the event, and I was like, I think I was like at 38.5 going into it.
38.5.
My temperature.
Oh, right. I was confused then by that number. Wow, is that a lot? I'm not very good with that kind of thing.
I don't know. I think
What should you be at?
body temperature is like 37.
Okay. It's going to be so many people being like, what the hell are you talking about? I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Warm.
I was really warm. I was burning. I don't even know why I was there, to be honest.
As a kid, though, you would do that. I remember coming off the rugby pitch and throwing up.
I think it's just because it's a day off school, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. And you don't want to look... When you're at school, you worry about missing that kind of thing. Whereas now, as an adult, you're like, nah.
Yeah, although I was basically... I wasn't doing particularly well. So I was close to last.
Uh-huh.
We were probably... So I think the pace we were running at, considering this was finishing it close to last, it was going to be less than 21 minutes. So it's like between 20 to 21 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is a 5k park run, if you think about it.
21 minutes was nearly last.
Yeah.
Wow. That's quick as hell.
So...
what was the winning time?
Oh, it was very close to 15 minutes. Jeez, that was the winning time.
That's good.
So what happened... Actually, you don't know about this.
Go on.
What happened during the race was... So the guy I was running with at the back, there was a couple of us, a group of us, and there was a bit of a gap that formed, probably about 30 seconds. So imagine like a figure of 8, but the bottom figure of 8 is like on the school grounds, and the top figure where you kind of run out and do the loop is kind of a little bit out of, a little bit into the wooded area, into the cross country section, and you come back. So we're near the back, and when we got to it. And then I don't know who it was. It would because it might have been like.
Don't name names just in case people are listening.
I know it might have been from a different school.
Oh, I see.
It wasn't just us. It was like there was a group of us, and one person shout to the marshal, "Oh, can we just cut here?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure," and he let us through. And
we took a shortcut.
And we took a shortcut, so we missed 1 kilometer.
Wow! Did you beat? Was anyone that didn't take the shortcut?
Cutting that shortcut, so. There was about probably 60 to 70 people on there.
Yeah.
And doing that shortcut, I was still like 20th when I came back on.
Really?
And then I finished about 25th.
Out of how many, sir?
About 60.
Wow. Nice. Nice. Shame on you, Marshall, for allowing that to happen.
So the fact that I cut the course and we were still not first just shows you how fast they just like ran.
I'll take it. 25 out of 60. That's great. I'll take that any day. Nice.
But
what about your first...
my first proper run was actually the Royal Park one. I think I mentioned it last week, but this was an early one, like my very first one. And yeah, I didn't prepare for that one particularly well. I enjoyed it until about mile 10. I started getting blisters.
Oh, okay.
And it got so bad, I could feel the liquid like going up.
Oh, mate, I've been there. I didn't feel the wrath of blisters until way later in the kind of years later. Like early days, I was somehow invincible from that stuff. But yeah, when you can actually feel the liquid of the blisters, not going into it too much.
Yeah, you just
that's game over time.
You just feel like it waving up and down in your
mate.
foot. So that's how it felt. And then
the fear of feeling that.
When I did the mile run for the school. I actually didn't realize at the time. This is probably like when you're a kid, you kind of forget about it. But only when I sat down, like it was like a mini athletic stadium because it's like the Palmer Park one, so it's not that.
Oh yeah,
big,
so this is near the town of Reading. It's quite a good one, I guess.
Yeah. So after the race, I then sat down because then there were other events going on, and only when I took my shoes off because I was like, oh, they're quite warm.
Yeah.
When you're and then I realized the bottom. So I wear the white socks.
Yeah, yeah.
At the bottom, it was red.
Oh my god.
So I had a blood blister, and it burst,
Ouch.
and I didn't even realize, and it wasn't even hurting, and I was like,
So you're
oh,
2 in the game. Nice.
I was
Wow.
just like, there. But yeah, the going back to the Royal Park one, yeah, that was a pretty bad one. I was actually tempted, but I didn't. I was tempted to just go to like the John Ambrose just to get it like it's-
Sorted out.
to pop it and just to wrap it up.
Yeah. What, during the race?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was tempted because I know sometimes that helps because when the blister gets too much, it's just pressing onto essentially like the fresh
Yeah,
skin
yeah,
underneath.
yeah. I know what you mean.
So sometimes to alleviate the pressure, so you keep the skin there
Yeah.
to make sure that it doesn't expose it,
Yeah, yeah.
but you just leave it.
It's a tough one, isn't it, to make that call? By the way, anyone eating, enjoy your meal.
Should have done that. Should have made that warning beforehand, but you know. So that
but-
was my first one.
nice.
Yeah.
But a nice little walk down memory lane for both of us. A nice little walk. Need to recapture some of that enthusiasm, I think, and some of
Maybe.
that reckless abandon. So on to the meat of the episode. We're talking about the race week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the final week leading up to whatever event you're doing. We looked last week at tapering, so I guess we'll briefly again look at kind of the last week from a training perspective.
Yeah, I guess it's both training and eating perspective because you're probably going to be doing the same. You just keep it safe,
Yeah.
simple and straightforward. Training is reducing down to very little. Like you can even, if you want, the last couple of days to actually take a break, depending on how you feel.
I would say so. I would tend to do that. I think there's a confidence thing though as well. Like some people like to do a couple of little runs in the final week just to give them that confidence
Yeah.
and psychological edge.
Yeah, like sometimes there's one or two where I actually done a park run before the half marathon, and it didn't hinder the day itself,
Yeah.
and I felt pretty fine.
You know by this point what your recovery cycle is.
Yeah,
You know that if you do a certain kind of run that's going to put you out for 3 days, maybe don't. Maybe just, go for a walk, go for a light jog, go for an enjoyable jog with a friend maybe who's a bit slower than you, and just enjoy it and just
Yeah.
kind of ease yourself into the week.
yeah, that week, basically any excuses that you could think of, actually use that to the fullest. Oh, it's raining today.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
If you think about it, you want to go there kind of with a full tank. And I often find psychologically for me, if I don't really run in the final week or do very little, I get kind of, because I run as a kind of stress release as well, I find my stress level goes up somewhat. I'm a bit more anxious and a bit more jumpy. And it makes me actually more pumped for the day than if I was
Yeah.
knackered. I'm like, oh my God, I really need a run. Thank God I've got this. Oh, I've just got so excited I hit the mic stand. I'm so excited I need a run. So thank God I've got this half marathon.
Yeah,
There is a certain people run better angry, and that is true of me. I run better when I'm angry.
run better. When
If I'm
you're angry.
happy, I'm like, why am I running?
Why am I running? Why am I doing this?
But that's some deep psychological issue that I have, obviously. So yeah, training, keep it minimal. Make sure you're stretching on and off. Before and after. Make sure your recovery is good.
Yeah, and I think in terms of eating, I think
Eating's a big one.
Yeah, I think
because
keep
there's a lot
it-
of theories thrown
yeah,
around.
I think keep it simple and straightforward. I think that I know people you do hear the word carbo loading banded around. So that just means, you just eat a couple of more carbohydrate products. So that's like rice, pasta, potatoes, the day before or a couple of days before, so you can store that energy that you use during
Yeah.
the event itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, like, don't go too overboard.
No way.
Just a night, like, even if you do eat a bit more, bit more pasta than normal.
An extra handful of pasta.
Yeah, not like 3 portions.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I've fallen victim to this in the past. You hear carb loading and you think, oh, I'm gonna go absolutely nuts and have like 3 pizzas the night before.
Yeah,
The thing is, like, a lot of people have said to me that if you think you're having that much extra food, that much extra carbs, your body's got to digest that, and in order for the digestion to work, the body has to draw water from your other parts of your body, your other organs, in order to digest that extra food. And that's going to make you more dehydrated. So having a mass load of food, like, 3-4 times what you would normally eat for dinner, is not going to be a good call. But like you said, you need a little bit extra fuel, and you need to make sure that, you have a good breakfast on the day itself, but don't use it as an excuse to go absolutely nuts, because that's going to lead to dehydration. It's going to lead to you feeling kind of overstuffed. It's going to give you heartburn potentially.
Yeah.
Again, play it safe.
Yep.
Don't do things to the extreme.
Yeah.
I think is the way to go. And obviously, it goes for any day of the week, but make sure you're well hydrated. If you're someone who struggles to get enough water in the day, have a little thing to remind you how many cups you've had. Set reminders on your phone a couple of days before saying, have a glass of water, have a glass of water, have a glass of water.
Just before we move on to a couple of other items.
Yeah.
What would you say, if you ever had one, like the worst day before preparation that you have done? Like I know you mentioned about the Brighton one.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know if that was necessarily the worst, because it didn't seem like you did that badly in.
The worst in terms of like preparation going completely wrong.
In terms of whether you would say preparation or you regret it on a day. Shall I go first?
Yeah, go on. If you've got one on the tip of your tongue, go for it.
So, I was doing the Reading half marathon, and I don't know why the day before, but so we went round to a friend's house, and drank till 2 a.m.
Nice. Alcohol.
Yeah. Had a couple of ciders, etc. And then the next day, I got up at 6, caught the bus up, and it was horrendous.
Yeah, I think
on the day.
I think that's kind of reminded me, like the times I've never really had a problem with I've never got absolutely hammered the day before, because I know that I just wouldn't be able to make it.
I didn't get.
No.
I wouldn't say I didn't get hammered,
but it's that late night.
I think I just late night, and I think I just had a couple.
Yeah.
But I knew immediately. Like if I had one, then maybe I could have said it was okay. But yeah, I had, 1 or 2.
I think the combination of a couple of pints and 4 hours sleep, which for any day of the week is not enough sleep, is gonna make you feel hanging in the morning. And I think for me, that kind of reminds me, the worst times I've had is when I've been excited about a run, or knowing that I have to get up early and drive to get to a run or get a train somewhere, and it means that I've not gone to sleep at a time which is I've gone to sleep too late, or I've not been able to go to sleep. That's when I feel it in the morning, because I don't like to have too much coffee on the day of the race. But when I get up and I'm knackered and I have to have a couple of cups of coffee, I already feel psychologically at a disadvantage, because I'm like, I'm going to be dehydrated, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something might happen. You might not get enough sleep. If you've got kids, one of your kids might be crying at night and you might have to get up and do this sort of thing. But do your best to have enough sleep and enough water and everything. But things might get in the way, as we always say. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. You can still do a good job, and maybe you won't get your time that you wanted, but you'll finish it. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no real disasters for me. But
No.
lack of sleep, possibly.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of time for disasters on my running front.
That was the only one I had.
Okay. So another one, another aspect that we can look at is kind of your race day gear. What are you going to pack? What are you going to buy beforehand? What do you need in your race day bag?
Yeah, so this just looks at the actual like when we say preparation, actually what you're going to do on the day, in terms of, as you say, what you wear.
What are you going to need?
So, of course, the first most logical thing is check the weather.
Yeah.
What is the weather going to be on the day? Like people, I don't know if you ever heard this, people always say dress 10 degrees cooler than you actually are going to be. So, if the day is like going to be 10 degrees, then supposedly you dress like it's going to be 20.
Yeah.
Because you're going to warm up and feel like that.
Wait. I'm getting my head around the maths here. So if it's going to be 10 degrees...
You dress as if it's going to be 20 degrees. So you dress lighter.
Wait, you mean dress as if it's going to be freezing? Wait, no. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you're... Yeah, sorry.
So say like, okay, imagine if it's 0 degrees. So it's icy out there.
Dress as if it's going to be 10.
You're going to... So don't dress like it's going to be 0 degrees.
Yeah.
You meant the theory is you're meant to be dressing around about 10 degrees more than it is.
Yeah, because you're gonna get hot, but I think, by the same token, I see a lot of people who strip as they're going round. As in, if you've got an extra coat on, if you've got someone supporting you, I see people. I've done it before as well. I throw my coat at someone who's supporting me as I'm going round, or I throw I have like really crappy gloves on. I'll chuck them off and be
Wasn't there one year where you ran and you bought like these proper gloves? And that was the day you decided just to wear crappy gloves from there on.
Yeah, I
It
remember.
was at the Henley Half.
Yeah,
You're telling me.
I've thrown a few good pairs of running gloves away.
Yeah.
I remember once I had quite a nice jacket on, running jacket, but I got so hot. Like you said, I got so hot. I thought it was a lot colder when you're standing still, but I got too hot. I remember throwing this nice jacket at just this random woman. I was like, "Why don't you keep it?" And I really regretted it instantly.
Yeah.
It's a great jacket. So yeah, you can do that if you've got people dotted around the course. You can chuck stuff at them when you get too warm. But if not, like you said, take it with you. If it suddenly drops 10 degrees when you're there, you can keep it on. If not, yeah, that's a good call. As we always say, don't change too much at the last minute because you want to be comfortable. So don't buy a new pair of shoes the day before and run in those because that's gonna recipe for disaster. Something I always do, which we talked about off air actually, is that I have Sudocrem for my feet because I'm quite prone to blisters. So I have a look on the internet. Sudocrem is basically something you slather your feet in, and it reduces friction.
Yep.
And it prevents blisters from forming as a result of friction. Some people put Vaseline to avoid chafing, or other products, talc.
Yeah. It's quite unusual because you think, oh, maybe when you use Sudocrem or Vaseline on your foot to reduce the blisters, it might be just to provide that moisture and stuff. But then people go, oh, you can use talcum powder on your feet as well, which is removing moisture, which is like completely the opposite.
Yeah, I think it's by this point you should have you would have probably tried a few things out. If you had an issue with blisters, you would have probably tried a couple of solutions. Stick with the one that you know works for you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I know it's quite hard, but you got to make a call. I remember the very first time when I read about it and used Vaseline was actually, I think it was in my second half marathon. I just went, you know what, I'll just do it anyway because I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's no, either way, because I knew I was going to get blisters if I didn't put it on.
Yeah.
I might as well put it on because if I get blisters, there's no difference.
Yeah.
So I think I was in that kind of position.
Yeah, I think it is a case of, I mean, for most of you listening, if this is your first race you're doing, you probably will do another race. So there is an element of trial and error. I used to put on blister pads preemptively on places where I knew I'm prone to getting blisters. And for me, that didn't work because the blister pad naturally would fall off a little bit and then it would get stuck in an uncomfortable position and would ironically cause more blisters or just be downright uncomfortable. So I had to learn that from trial and error, and now I'm Sudocrem every time, and that works for me. But you might not get it right the first time. You might have to put up with a bit of discomfort, but that's natural.
If as a tip, if you ever have blisters before the race, so during that week before the race, my tip is give it as much air as possible. Don't wrap it when you sleep. Just unwrap it and let it. Or wrap it loosely if it is broken skin. But leave it to recover in the air as much as possible.
What's the consensus with popping blisters?
For me, I mean, you
gotta be pretty careful when you pop them anyway. It has to be like a sterile needle.
Yeah,
you either have
because
to
you are got a fresh skin underneath it. But I mean, you generally pop blisters just to release the pressure if it's really affecting you.
But then that's going to expose. Again, this is a.
But if you just do a small pop and not the main thing,
don't rip it off.
Yeah.
Again, if you're eating, sorry.
You don't take the skin away. You just leave the skin there. You just make a little, especially using a needle, just a little.
Make sure it's a sterile needle.
And then you put it on, and then you just let it recover in the air as much as possible.
See, again, trial and error. See what works for you. You might be more of a Compeed blister pad person. Yeah. You might be more of a Sudocrem person. You might be a Vaseline person. You might be a talc person. You might not get it right the first time.
Yep.
But it's, at the end of the day, it might be a bit of discomfort, but you'll get through it.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what about? So we looked at kind of weather and temperature.
Do you buy stuff like nutrition on the day? I remember you used to buy gels and stuff.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah. So this is another one which I've kind of changed over the years. I used to buy. This was based purely on the fact that my brother does it, and used to go running with him, and he'd done a few more events than me, so I followed suit with buying these energy gels. Trouble with these energy gels is, it's a big old lump of glucose and carbs that your body then has to digest, and when you're running, sometimes that can cause you to get runner's tummy, where you feel like your tummy gets gurgly or you feel a bit nauseous.
Yeah.
So for me, having a gel is too heavy on my stomach when I'm running. I might have one before, but during, I definitely can't have a big old tube of gel. So for me, I've now converted to... Good thing about races is if they're well supported, you'll get kids holding kind of Tubs Jelly Babies or Haribo. Grab a couple of those. Just chew on them, couple of hits of glucose, a little less heavy on your digestive system than a gel. So for me, what I would do now in terms of pre, during, and post snacks for races,
Yeah.
I would buy myself some sort of cereal bar or one of those Bounce protein balls as my pre-race.
Yeah.
So not too heavy, just a small protein ball or a small cereal bar. That'd be my pre. During, I would rely on the kindness of little kids handing out sweets. Have a couple of those as I go around. Obviously, water, keep hydrated at the water stops. And then post-race, do whatever. Just pick out. Obviously, rehydrate, but in terms of food, doesn't really matter particularly. But yeah, pre-race, I've kind of cut down on the gels because you get a bit of a funny stomach, or at least I do. I don't know about you.
I never had, like, during the race, I have had one or two gels, but pre-race, I
Do
rarely...
you have a Lucozade pre-race?
No, not. No,
What
no.
do you do? Just water? Banana?
Whatever shop is nearby.
Yeah. Thing is, you don't want to be... You want to have a good breakfast that's going to give you energy, but you also don't want to overeat.
I had a good breakfast. So say like the Edinburgh Marathon I did, I had a good breakfast.
What did you have?
Then...
Like toast or something?
No, I had my usual cereal. So a good bowl
Couple of McDonald's hash browns as well, if I remember rightly.
No, that wasn't. So that wasn't necessarily breakfast.
No.
So breakfast was actually when we were in our rooms
Yeah,
at the place.
Yeah.
So hash brown was a snack.
Mm-hmm. That's because you had to hang around for a bit, right?
Yeah, because you were earlier. So then I walked around, and then because it was a little bit cold, especially when you're standing still. The only place that was, of course, open at that time on a Sunday was McDonald's. So I just went in there.
Hash brown's not too bad. Small, packed with carbs.
Yeah, and delicious.
Yeah, exactly. Greasy, line your stomach. Again, though, with food, it's the same as we keep repeating it, but it needs to be repeated. Don't change anything too drastic.
Yeah.
If you're used to gels and you know they're good for you and they don't mess your stomach up, go for some gels. If not, nothing wrong with picking up a couple of Haribos from a supporter on the way.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of, like, say, because I know some people do carry like their own water bottles and bring it on the day and stuff. This is more of a personal thing. I'm not that kind of person. I know I'm perfectly happy with what's on the event days. That's been provided.
So,
just in terms of water and stuff. I'm not a big person in terms of carrying. I do have pockets just to store smaller stuff, but like, I'm not too much on water bottles and
See, I like to have I basically like to have nothing weighing me down. So I'm quite a superstitious person, so I don't like to have stuff around my waist or stuff in my pockets. So for me,
it's like a double thing.
Well, yeah,
around your waist.
Exactly. So for me, I see these people with kind of like almost like Batman style utility belts on with gel, and then a little bag of sweets, and then this and this and this, and then a Lucozade. It's like, A, I don't know how you digest that as you go around without absolutely throwing up. B, it must be heavy, and C, do you really need that much? If you've had enough of a breakfast and you stop off at the water stops, do you really need that much?
Yeah.
It's what, find what works for you.
Yeah, because I understand that sometimes with some people it's just a confidence or a habit thing. Like, having that water bottle there is, it's something that they always get. But for me, it's just...
Yeah. Do what's right for you. But like I did, at first I would have a load of gels because my brother was doing it and I thought that's what I should do. But then the best way is trial and error, work it out for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll get you in the best place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you should eat, what you should buy, what you should wear, how you should train in the last week. I guess the only other thing is kind of the day itself, like waking up and getting to the start line.
Yeah, although the day itself, but I guess there's probably one thing before the day itself is to actually, I would say, looking up to it is actually what's happening on the day. So how you're going to get there, what's actually at the event. I think those are kind of sometimes key aspects which you don't really think about. Sometimes you could rush it on the night before.
Yeah.
So say if I take where I'm in terms of in Reading, going
So
to
south of England.
going to the Royal Park with essentially Hyde Park in London, where I did the half. And the race, when you do some research, the generally starts around 9 a.m. Sometimes they vary between, we had some earlier at 8 a.m., but between 8 and 10 a.m. I realized for 9 a.m. that when I was researching on Sundays, that at the first one I did, now it's a bit better. The first one I did, there was no trains.
Okay.
There was a bus service
Oh god.
to the next available stop along the journey,
Yeah.
and then you catch the train from there.
Yeah.
But then I realised that it was a slow stopping service. It wasn't a fast service. Normally a fast service is about half an hour.
Yeah.
So I actually had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to make my way down to the event.
Good times.
Um,
Go to bed at like 7 in the evening.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think those things, it's good to research and look ahead, because I think it would have been a bit more frustrating.
I think you don't want to
Catch yourself out.
Yeah,
really.
you don't want to catch yourself out and potentially miss something, and you also don't want to be stressed or anxious or cutting it short for time on the day, because you want to be relaxed and you want to be able to enjoy it, and it is a good atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah,
So you want to get there in good time and soak it up.
Yeah, and surprisingly, when you do actually look at these things, so the one where I had to get up at 4:30, when I got after the bus, when I got into the train, because you realise that actually, especially when you're within a certain distance to the event, you actually are with people who are there for the event generally. So that train, it wasn't near packed or half full, but pretty much everyone there I saw had like runner names and stuff like that. So everyone was pretty much in the same boat as you. So you do start to see the little bit of the atmosphere that comes in.
Yeah, and you start talking to people, you start pumping yourself up, and you might get some last minute tips from a kind of a veteran runner.
Yeah, you either hear...
Likewise, it can freak you out a little bit. But...
Yeah, you can either hear like little tips, or sometimes you hear, especially for busier events, about how they managed to get in terms of... So the one I went into, so the very first one I did for Hyde Park, because it's a ballot, but we got it through our work, so corporate entry, so it was a bit different.
Tough to get into.
But the people I was talking to, pretty much everyone I talked to were through charities, and just the stuff that they did, cake sales and everything. It was just like, in terms of, I was like, so how did you do it? I was like, oh yeah, my work paid for it.
But that's kind of good, because it reminds you why people do things as well, and you kind of, if you're feeling sorry for yourself that you're about to run 13 or 26 miles, you can be like, oh, okay, people are doing it for charity.
Yeah, we do it all together.
But I think, like you said, the key two words are look ahead. Make sure you've read your race pack a couple of times, so that you know where the drop off is. If you're going alone and no one's there to support you, make sure you've got a bag drop off where you can dump your stuff, so that you're not leaving it somewhere randomly.
So that's generally, it's in the as you say, the entry pack, and also it's on the day itself. You see these little areas, especially larger events. I'll probably say smaller events. The positive side about smaller events is sometimes they run by really good local people, and they tend to be good at essentially looking after your stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we've been to one or two where it's almost like it's so small where it's like the owner, just leave it here.
By this table.
It'll
but
be fine.
I would say that's rare. most events that you'll go to will be more grander scale.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'll have a luggage drop.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
say that like there's no event that I've been to where they're kind of like, no, we don't have a baggage drop.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even small events will be like, yeah, don't worry, we can look.
We've
look
got a
after.
central place where we can
Yeah,
keep.
although it's still your responsibility, but
Yeah.
they will help look after it.
So like you say, look ahead, make it as stress-free and as fun as you can on the day. I guess one thing I wanted to do, kind of as we get towards wrapping this episode up, because it's one you can talk about for ages, because the week leading up is an important week. What would you say is your biggest tip that you would give, or the best piece of advice you would give to someone who's in the last week of prior to their first race? You get to give them one tip. What would it be for a successful race day?
For a successful race day.
Do you want to have a think? I've got mine lined up.
Yeah, I'll have a think.
Okay. So for me, it's pack your bag the night before. Don't do it on the morning of the race, because naturally, even if you're the calmest person in the world, you'll be slightly more anxious on the morning, and you'll be more likely to forget something, and it will stress you out. So for me, pack your bag the night before, double check it the night before, have a little look in the morning maybe, but be ready to go so that you can enjoy a nice leisurely breakfast and travel up as stress-free as possible. How about you?
I mean, the one thing, I don't know if it's really like, I don't know how important it is, but it's almost like adding on to your thing.
Go on, go for it.
So the day before, like I like to do this because I just don't want to do it on the day because it's fiddly.
That's fair enough.
If you do it on the day, it's a bit of a hassle, and you just go all over the place finding stuff. It's putting your number on your t-shirt.
So getting
I pin it on the night before, so it's there. My shirt is there, ready.
It's a good tip because I've been to races in winter, and if you're trying to put what are they called? Safety pins on your shirt with cold hands. My God, is it frustrating?
Cold hands, windy, wet, and
nervous.
you're just like you're doing it when you're looking down on yourself and trying to pin it in. I don't know why I'm like visually trying to describe
No,
it.
I know what you mean. So I think to summarize from those two is, if you've got time the night before to tick a few things off, don't put off what you can do now, because it'll make it a more fun, stress-free experience on the day.
Yeah.
And I guess that wraps things up for race week.
Yep.
Whatever race you're doing, whether it be a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon, or an ultra, if it's your first time or your 100th time, both of us here at Middle of the Road wish you a very successful race.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week for our final episode. What are we going to be doing in the final episode?
So the final episode, we're pretty much going to discuss like literally the event day.
Mm-hmm.
So
in more detail.
In more detail, but what we mean by that is literally what happens when you arrive. So it's not like now you're there, now you arrived. Okay, what's generally there? What, especially with big events, what do you expect? And generally, how do they go through to essentially up to when they say on your marks, get set, go?
Yeah.
And then what happens from there?
Cool. And I guess we'll also look at kind of a post-race debrief.
Yeah,
and then
we'll finish off with the post race and maybe a little bit of what do you expect in the middle, like in terms of the facilities that they have throughout the race as well.
And moving forward, looking at, do I want to do another event? Is running for me? And maybe kind of muse on that a little bit.
Yes.
And maybe I talk about our own experiences, how we moved forward from our first race, and how obviously we got addicted to it.
Yes.
Because we're suckers for punishment. Yeah. But thanks very much for joining us again. Please get involved on our socials. We're on Twitter, which is at @MOTR_pod. We're also on Instagram at Average Podcast Runner. But best of luck with your running this week.
Yeah, and also one final thing.
Oh, go on.
So it'll be the final episode before the end of the new year. So this will come out.
So happy 2019.
So although we record this a little bit beforehand, but this will be coming out on the 31st.
Yes.
So yeah.
Be safe. Treat yourself a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
See you next year.